me? Ringing. So, hi everyone. Thank you for yesterday, which I thought was a great day, and this morning, which I think was a great morning. And I just want to thank you all again for being here, and I want to give you one example of the face of disappointment from a colleague who wasn't able to join us. So for those of you who don't know Michelle Boone, this is Michelle Boone, the Commissioner for the Arts of the City of Chicago, who sent me this picture and said, here's what it looks like when you can't come to GIA this year. So we missed Michelle. So I'm here to give you a little recap of the state of the organization. And I won't bore you, and I want you to, well, I don't, it's up to you if you want to be bored or not. I'm saying what I'm saying. There's no choice. I'm not singing and dancing instead. So, but I want to encourage you to continue to eat so that you're not eating when the keynote speaker speaks. All right. So highlights for GIA in 2013 include our capitalization workshops, which we did in Los Angeles, Boston, Portland, Oregon, Chicago, and Atlanta, New York City. We will be in Pittsburgh in December, and in November we'll be doing that workshop for TCG at their fall conference. We were last year in the capitalization workshop in Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco, Oakland, Minneapolis, and Houston. And so I just want to reiterate one more time that our work in capitalization, which I think is important for every organization, no matter what size, large, small, and every funder, no matter what size, large or small, that we be concerned about the continued financial health and well-being of our organizations. Capitalization, as we define it, is the resources needed to reach your mission. So we've met in 13 cities with groups of funders, which means we've met with over 300 funders, so 2/3 of this room has heard this and been to our conversations on capitalization and community. We will continue to do them, so let us know if you're interested in your community to bring 20 or 25 funders together and have this joint conversation on the financial health and wealth of your organizations and how funders can be helpful, maybe more helpful than we've been. That's capitalization. We met with Grantmakers in Health and Grantmakers in Aging in a strategic session in Washington, D.C., and participated in the Arts Education Partnership Conference also in D.C. We'll participate in the Innovation Summit in Denver, where we'll talk about innovation funding and capitalization goals for both grantees and funders. We had a group of social justice funders who will continue this year their work on constructing racial equity, and this is a continuation of the work that we did last year, where we first did an understanding structural racism training with the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond out of New Orleans with this same group, and then met again to debrief that. This social justice funders will eventually come to a place of making recommendations maybe to the field. This is like capitalization. This is not a this year project. We're not going to get away from racial equity. We're not going to solve racial equity in a year, like we're not going to solve capitalization issues in a year, but we're going to stick with it until we have something that benefits the whole field. So that's where we are with that. The other, I think, important thing to know about that is that the board of directors, the Grantmakers in the Arts Board of Directors, voted to accept this racial equity work as core field work, meaning that we will integrate it into all of our programs, that it is an important part of our messaging and of our of the way we communicate with members and with non-members. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. And on top of that, the entire board in July spent 2 days in Seattle doing an understanding racism workshop with the People's Institute for Survival Beyond. So they were fantastic, and they have been fantastic in support of this whole theme. So we're really pleased with that. We also published 3 issues of the Reader. The final one for this year just came out. In that one is the statistics from the Foundation Center and also from the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies with regards to public funding of what happened, of the statistics that we have in terms of arts funding this year. Most of that funding is a couple years back because the Foundation Center is a couple years back on there. But it's interesting how you can see the trajectory. Probably not very different than your own organizations and what you're seeing in terms of some funding coming back from where it was certainly in 2009 and 2010. But we're not back where we were before the recession. Now is the time for the symbols. Bada boom. Okay, and our other projects included, and the one thing I just want to point out to everyone about the Reader is that I can't give enough credit and thank yous to Frances Phillips. Frances, where's Frances? Stand up, Frances, wherever you are. There she is. Yay, Frances Phillips. And to Tomer Peterson, the co-editors of the Reader. Because they do the hard work to figure out what should go in, what should go out, and how it gets edited, and the rest of us just say, well, I think you should do this, I think you should do that. But they actually do the work, so that's fantastic. We explored this year how to make a difference in federal arts education policy with the Arts Education Funders Coalition. We have been, I think, successful in enhancing arts education in federal policy, not yet in statute, but we're hoping that we're going to get there within the next few months and certainly in the beginning of next year. And that's in partnership with the Penn Hill Group that are partners in Washington, D.C. We presented 5 web conferences on diverse issues, and we completed an evaluation of GIA programs. So for all you funders who like that evaluation stuff, we completed evaluations of our programs from 2010 to 2012 and are embarking on a new planning process. I was hoping that I could put this off for another 5 or 7 years, but evidently not. My board says, no. We're excited about our new planning process, and Kristen Mattson is leading that. So if you have any suggestions about where we should go, talk to Kristen. We're in the process of creating a consensus around, and this is really a big deal, and many of you have been in the sessions talking about this, but we're in the process of creating a consensus around taxonomy for funders who support individual artists. This is data that is currently not being collected by anyone in a singular manner. So out of this project that we're doing, of course, with Alan Brown and Claudia Bach, and that many of you have helped us with, will hopefully come some kind of process in which to collect data so that we understand what artists are being, not who, but what kinds of artists are being funded, who's funding them, and how that looks demographically. So we're excited about that. We also grew our membership this year, and we're very excited about that. And finally, we operated in a sound capitalized manner, building a cash reserve, guided by a strong cash reserve policy, directed by an extremely active finance committee, led by Diane Sanchez, our treasurer. So, yay, Diane. She keeps us all in line. And of course, we produced this conference. So we did some other things along the way, but that's kind of a wrap-up of what we did this year. Continuing our partnerships with other grantmaker affinity groups, and also branching out into our advocacy work to support individual artists, and to take our regional capitalization workshops around the country. So we're excited about that. I, of course, cannot do all of this by myself, despite popular belief. So I just want to thank my staff who is the most fabulous, wonderful staff any organization could have. So if they would just stand up when I call their names, I hope they're in the room. Jan Bailey, who's the director of our finance and operations. Jan Bailey. Kathy Lindenmeyer, who's director of development and membership. And Noah Barnes, who's membership manager. Thank you. Abigail Gay, who's our program manager. Steve Klein, who is back on the boards there, who is the web and knowledge manager for GIA. And of course, Tomer Peterson, deputy director and director of programs. So. And then, of course, we have our board of directors. And I will tell you that your board of directors for Grantmakers in the Arts represents you very well. They come from a very diverse group. They're a very serious group. They're also kind of fun. I like them. They're good people to be around. And what I'd like to do is have them stand right now. But first, before they do that, I want to thank again Roseanne Cleveland, who is our chair, because it takes a lot of work and a lot of extra time. And yes, she does have another job besides being chair of GIA, despite the fact that she's really wonderful about responding back to me, which is great. But if we could have other board members stand up, that'd be fantastic. So this is the GIA board. And then I'd like everybody who's ever served on the GI board to stand. So there has to be a joke in there about old board members never die, they just go on to continue funding or something. It was a bad joke, but thank you, Vicki. Okay, so right now I'd like to turn, that's the end of if you have any questions about what we're doing, if you ever don't like something we're doing, we like to hear positive things, but we sometimes like to hear negative things too. Actually, I like to hear negative things. Positive things you should talk to the staff about. Negative things you can talk to Roseanne Cleveland about. That's right, she's right. No, actually, if there are things that you think we should be doing, those are the things that I would love to hear from you directly about, and so that we can have those kinds of conversations. So right now I want to introduce John McGurk with the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, who is our nominating committee chair. Thank you.
They put this chair up here just for the nominating committee? So I'd like to thank my colleagues who served with me on the nominating committee this year, Felicia Shaw from the San Diego Foundation, Mary McCullough Hudson from Artwave, and Eddie Torres from Rockefeller. We have a group of directors who will be elected by you for a second term. Arlene Fishbaugh from Montana Arts Council, Kristen Madsen from the Grammy Foundation in Los Angeles, Carrie McCarthy from the New York Community Trust, Laura Aiden-Packard from the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation, Eddie Torres from Rockefeller in New York, and Margaret Reiser from the Harlan Charitable Foundation. Please join me in thanking those board members. In addition, this year, we asked you for nominations for board members, and we received more than 25 nominations, all very highly skilled. Any one of them could have done it. So we built a skills matrix and looked at the types of funders, the geography that's represented. We did a demographic matrix, looking at that we had representatives from various demographic factors, and 3 folks rose to the top. And so I'd like to introduce our 3 new directors. Denise Brown from the Leeway Foundation in Philadelphia. Can you stand? Angelique Power from the Joyce Foundation in Chicago. Can you stand? There she is over there. And Jim McDonald from the Paul Allen Foundation in Seattle. So Janet told you about some of the various programs, but almost all of those activities are generated by volunteers. So if you don't serve on the board, there's still lots of volunteer opportunities for you at GIA, and we hope that you will take advantage of those. Finally, you'll see on your table these very attractive blue envelopes, and you may open them now. Inside, you'll find a survey form that we ask that you distribute to everybody at your table. Fill those out and then place the surveys back in the blue envelope. We have some funders that ask for demographics, so we have to do this apparently. So thank you. Please fill these out. Return the envelope to your table, and we'll pick those up at the end of lunch. Thank you.